Representing day 18 of Spooktober is 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film was directed by Tobe Hooper and is about a group of friends who are going to visit their grandfather's grave in Texas, who end up encountering a group of cannibalistic psychos, and they must escape and survive. This is flat out one of my favorite horror films of all time, and I do think that it is also one of the best horror films of all time. Some of my favorite films may not be the best. I believe that this is one of the best and one of my favorites. I mean, one of the many reasons that we can contribute to that is that the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. The cinematography is able to do everything that it wants to do, capture every tone whatsoever. Some shots are super calm and so gorgeous, and other shots just have this looming darkness of terror in the feeling that surrounds them. This film has some of the most iconic shots in horror movie history, and I would argue even movie history, and there's a sort of style to the cinematography that I associate with it. There are sequences in certain movies, most recently Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's a shot in that where I sat back and I was like, geez, that kind of makes me think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film is without a doubt scary, and that is all to contribute to Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface. Holy cow, this man is terrifying. Sometimes you get glimpses into him towards the earlier portions of the film that almost make you feel bad for him, and he does a really good job at capturing the fact that Leatherface is a human too. Although his actions may be completely just psychopathic and absolutely ridiculous and murderous and crazy, there are times in this film where you can tell that he's just sad and that he's just distressed, and it almost makes you feel bad for him, and it makes you feel really dirty for feeling bad for him too. This film is one of the first films that implements the whole idea of the final girl, and I think that this is really the film that it works the best in. I mean, don't get me wrong, Leatherface is not the only good performance in this film. The guy who plays Franklin, Sally, those being Paul A. Partain and Marilyn Burns, Edwin Neal and Jim Cito, who later in the series we would get to know as the Sawyers, but for now, Edwin Neal, the hitchhiker, Jim Cito, the old man. This family was absolutely menacing. One of the reasons this film was able to pull everything off so well is that it was so real. Some of the plot points seem like things that nowadays we would think, oh, that's just ridiculous plot convenience, but if you put ourselves back in the shoes of when this film took place, those are completely normal things to happen, and it makes everything feel so real. And that's where the ending comes in, no spoilers. All the film building up this realism, and then the ending happens, and you're just kind of like, holy cow. It's not a very jump-scary movie either, and I think that it gets a really bad reputation for being this absolute gore fest, when in reality, there is little to no gore in this entire movie. That's one of the things that kind of ticks me off a little bit about horror filmmaking, and I can totally talk about it some other time, but it's also the same with the first Saw movie, which I'll talk about a little bit later. That film doesn't have a insane amount of gore either, besides the one scene, but it gets this reputation for being this absolute gorno. Regardless, I absolutely love this film. I think it's one of the best horror films ever made, one of the most influential horror films ever made, and it's just one of my favorite films ever made. I'm going to give the Texas Chainsaw Massacre a 9 out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching, I really appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment for any movie reviews, analyses, or comparisons you'd like to see in the future, and have a good one.